Hello everybody and welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mitch. I'm the owner of Dayton Mobile DJ based out of West Carrollton, Ohio. And I'm here with my friend Melanie from MSRCreations Photography.
Yes.
Based out of Kettering, Ohio. I just want to preface this by saying that we are from the Dayton, Ohio area. If you guys are from outside the region, hopefully you guys will benefit from this podcast as well and come up with something to help you guys plan the perfect wedding. Today, what are we going to talk about?
Ceremony time.
Ceremony timing. Big thing to think about when you're trying to plan everything.
Yes. So basically, you have to think about what time of year your wedding date is in. Is it in the fall? Is it in the spring?
Yeah, because the sun sets at different times all year round.
It does. And with my brides, and grooms, I like to talk to them about what time the sun sets, if the sun's going down, how we're going to plan their wedding as far as photos before, photos afterhand, what makes sense, what kind of look they want. You know, you don't want to have a July wedding at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in full sun and it be really hot and your guests are miserable.
Especially if you're having an outdoor ceremony.
Yes.
And the sun setting doesn't only affect the ceremony, it affects everything after the ceremony. So the reception, you really need to base all your times off of what time the sun is setting. That's the best way to gauge when to start your ceremony.
Exactly.
So another thing that we want to think about when you're planning your ceremony is music and lighting and everything. So there's a whole thing that encompasses the timeline, not just when to start, but what do you need for a ceremony.
Yes.
So basing the time on the lighting, that helps out with the photographer, but then you also need to know how many people are going to be at your ceremony. How far back are the people going to be away from you? Do they need to be mic'd? Do you need music? Do you have somebody that's going to be playing it from an iPod? Because hiring a professional is always the best way to go, but maybe you can't afford it. But it's always something that you need to consider. So when hiring a photographer, what are the benefits for having a professional photographer at the ceremony rather than just counting on your family to take pictures with their phones and then going from there?
Oh gosh. Yeah, so you're definitely going to get better photos, better angles, capturing the moments that we know, basically, as a photographer, what's important, and going back to the ceremony time, the lighting and everything, if it's bright, if the sun's going down, if you need flash.
Absolutely.
Cell phones are great. They are really good, and the cameras are coming along in them. But having somebody that knows what they're doing behind that camera definitely makes a huge difference.
And knowing the experience coming from a professional photographer is that they know where to be at certain points during the ceremony to capture the events that are coming up. They have the experience and the know-how to figure out how to get to where they need to get that perfect picture.
Yes. Plus, family should be there to enjoy watching the wedding and not worrying about being behind that camera or the iPhone. You miss out on a lot of life if you're behind that cell phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing to think about when you're planning your ceremony timing is what's going to happen before the ceremony. So you need to get your hair done, you need to get dressed, you need all of these different things, and then you have to figure out what exactly you want to do before the ceremony. So let's go back to the photography part of it. So what pictures should people be trying to get done before the ceremony?
I always leave it up to my couples if they want to do a first look or if they want to keep it traditional. Based on the ceremony time, which I find
let's back up a little bit. What is the first look?
Okay, a first look is basically where the bride and groom or the couple see each other for the first time, and it's typically not the standard at the ceremony site.
So
walking down the aisle.
Instead of the bride coming down the aisle and that being the first time that the groom sees her walking down the aisle, we're going to do it before the ceremony to capture the reactions a little closer up and get some pictures out of the way, pretty much is what we're trying to do.
Basically, what I have found from asking my couples who have done a first look, afterwards, it's typically the groom who says, "Oh my God, I needed this, I'm relaxed, I was so anxious," because usually the bride she's so busy getting ready, having hair, makeup. I mean, no offense, you guys, hopefully shower, shave, put on your suit.
But most people don't shave anymore.
Okay, maybe you have a beard.
I'm just saying.
Groom that beard a little bit. But from what I have found is most grooms are just sitting and waiting and hanging out with the guys, and they're just anxious. They're like nervous about being in front of the crowd. So that moment that you get to see each other away from your family, away from the big group of people at the ceremony. It's just a few minutes of time and probably the first and the last time that you'll have that whole day alone to talk, to connect, and
Right.
really look at each other.
So did you do a first look at your wedding?
I did not.
I also did not do a first look at my
You
wedding.
did not do a first look.
I did not. I stood up there at the altar, and the first time I saw Brianna was when she was walking down the aisle. Did he cry?
Did my husband cry?
Did he cry?
No. So I don't think he cried.
I didn't cry.
Not every guy cries. That's okay. We should try to build up that emotion, but I have had grooms and brides say that it still didn't take away that moment from walking down the aisle.
It's also a good thing to do with your dad.
Yes.
So the bride, if you're wanting to make a special moment with your dad, for your dad to see you the first time with your dress on, this is a really good way to do that too, because you can do a father's first look and then go into the first look with your fiance. So
yeah. Oh yeah, So we can set that up, and usually during the course of the day we'll have everything planned out and know this is something you want to do ahead of time, so we can keep dad off and keep him hidden. And I find that dads get just as choked up, if not more,
feel
because
like
that's
more,
their baby.
yeah. The ones that I see, because every once in a while we do get to see them, because they'll come do them on the dance floor while I'm getting set up. So I do get to witness that every once in a while. It's a lot of fun, and they do turn into really good pictures. It's really nice.
And in talking in regards to timeline, if you do a first look, then you can do all the formal photos with a bridal party ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Before the ceremony.
Because a lot of people are in a hurry. I feel like I've talked about this in another episode. A lot of people are in a hurry. Let's get the party started. That's what they want to get to. So being able to do the first look jumps ahead all of the bridal party pictures. And then really the only pictures that you have to do after the ceremony are the pictures with the rings, and maybe if you didn't want to have your grandparents show up early, so you can go out and do your family pictures. Yeah. But the majority of the bridal party pictures are already done, so we can speed up that cocktail hour and get everybody in.
Exactly. I always say, at this point, if you want to do a first look, it's a great way just to get everything done ahead of time and move it forward.
Absolutely. And other things that you need to consider when you're trying to plan out your timeline is you don't want to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, because you're going to be there late in the evening. Mm-hmm. So maybe figure out what time you want your ceremony to start based on the sun setting. Yes. And then you can work backwards at all the other stuff that you need to do. So we need to do flowers are a big thing. So getting your bouquets and getting the guys' coiffures put on and getting the ladies' corsages put on.
Yes.
All that's something that you need to do beforehand. I noted you mentioned something in your notes about planning for putting your dress on, because some people get overly complicated dresses.
And some are really easy. So this is a question I ask all my brides. Is it a zip-up dress? Are you lacing it? Have somebody or like your maid of honor, or the mother of the bride, or your best friend, or have somebody do a trial run. Get that dress. Once you try it on, have them know how to do it, and know it's going to take 15 minutes because it's a lace-up and all these buttons. Or if it's just a zip-up, 5 minutes.
Easy peasy, get it going. We don't want to make everybody, especially if you're doing an outdoor ceremony in July or August, and then you didn't pre-plan for the timing that it's going to take to do your makeup and put your dress on, and then we're an extra 20 minutes sitting out in the sun baking. It does get hot at some of these places, because they're out in dead sun, and it gets hot. Having a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator, even just a day of coordinator, can help solve all of these problems. And that's all if it comes in your budget, if it'll fit in and you can afford to have a wedding coordinator or a wedding planner the day of. Angela, we're looking at you. Mm-hmm. That was for you. Just keeping that in mind, that'll always help you out, and keeping a track, and they'll help you plan out that day to where you're perfect.
Exactly.
But if you are hiring a real professional, whether it be a DJ, a photographer, a videographer, a florist, they're all going to give you advice on how to get there. And that's one of the benefits of having a true professional at your wedding, is that they have the experience and the knowledge that comes along with that you need to pre-plan for this, and they will mention it to you. Because you actually have a planner that you give to all your brides, correct?
I do. I have a planner. It goes through a lot of what we're talking about today, and things that you don't think about, down to the nitty-gritty small questions.
Absolutely. And I have it set up on my website to where they can go and they can plan pretty much everything, including creating a timeline, which helps you kind of build it and figure out what needs to go where. And that covers everything from pre-ceremony all the way through the end of the reception. There's details between everything. But today we just wanted to talk about the ceremony. And the biggest thing is looking at the sunset. That's pretty much the takeaway from this episode, correct?
Yeah. So there is an app that you can download you can look at it and it'll tell you where the sun's at, or is going to set, where it's going to fall at certain times. You can also put in the GPS coordinates if you don't feel like trekking out to whatever location it is.
And you can put in the day, like what day you're going to be there,
yes.
and it'll tell you.
You
So
can
that's
put
very cool.
all the settings in. It's Sunseeker, and I believe you can download it to the Apple, to iPhone. I have
Yeah.
the Android, sorry. Or Android.
I'm sure they have it in the Apple stuff just the same as they do on the Android.
Yes. So Sunseeker.
Sunseeker. Very cool.
Sunseeker. It is really cool, and
So when they go out, they can just go out to do a site visit at the venue and then
you don't
stand in
even
the
have to
spot.
go to. You don't even have to go.
You don't have to, but you could, and you could just bring it up and be like, oh, well, hey, look,
Yes.
the sun's going to set at 9 o'clock, so we should probably have dinner 2 hours before that. That way the sun's setting right after dinner, we can go do pictures, and then by the time we come in for our first dance, the sun's set, and it's time to open the dance
You
floor.
don't miss it, yeah.
That's
like my top request is always to do sunset photos if possible.
Absolutely. Well, like I say, the biggest takeaway from this whole episode today is that you really need to check when the sun is going to set on the particular date that you've chosen for your wedding. It's definitely the thing that you need to pay attention to the most when you're setting up your timing.
It is, and then everything can build from there.
Yep. Talk to your pros, let them know what you want to do, and they'll help you figure out when the time to start the ceremony is best. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and hopefully learned something. I learned something. That's a really cool app that Melanie talked about. Once again, everybody, Melanie. My name is Mitch. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Simple Secrets from the Wedding Pros podcast. Make sure to come back and see us. If you guys found anything interesting in this episode, or if you have any arguments about what we said, just leave them down in the comments and we will ignore them. Also, click the thumbs up if you liked the video, and we'll see you guys next time.